Inner Voice, a heartfelt chat with Dr. Foojan.
Listen up if you want to promote your personal growth and self-awareness. I found the Foojan app last month and I have been absolutely loving it. I personally have never learned guided meditation, but thanks to this app, I now have learned incredible tools for my own stress relief and emotional self-awareness. Not to mention, there are self-evaluation tools and professional coaching available to utilize however your journey to self-discovery takes you. Join Foojan today and redefine your life one step at a time.
Do you wish to wake up one day and hit the Life Reset button? Life Reset, the awareness integration path to create the life you want by Dr. Foojan Zeine, helps you navigate crucial life areas, heal the past traumas, and cultivate fulfilling relationships and careers. Life Reset is your guide to a profound journey to...
Welcome to the Inner Voice, a Heartfelt Chat podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Foojan Zeine, a psychotherapist, author, and the creator of the Awareness Integration Theory. So thrilled to have you join me today. What I promise you to be an amazing discussion about an amazing book, and I talked to the two co-authors. So in this episode, I chat with Dr. Aileen Zaballero, who's the senior partner of Rothwell Associates with a dual title Ph.D. in workforce education and comparative international education from Pennsylvania State University. She has been a certified professional in talent development since 2009. Aileen has over 27 years of experience in the learning and development field and more than 10 years researching what adults learn, how they know it, and the value placed on type of knowledge. To date, Aileen has authored and co-authored over 10 books on human resources and talent development. I also have Dr. Behnam Bakhshandeh, is an accomplished business manager known widely as a dynamic writer, speaker, personal and professional development coach, and trainer for over 30 years, implementing his passion, visionary leadership skills. He produces extraordinary results in record time. So he's also the founder and president of Primeco Education, a coaching and consulting company that has worked with individuals, teams, and organizations on personal and professional development since 1993. Up to date, he has authored and published 10 books on topics related to the personal and professional development industry, including organizational development, personal and professional coaching, and high performance. I'm sure you have, if you've been part of my podcast, you've have consistently watched some of the shows, and I've had them back in my podcast many times because they are writing books, I think, once or twice per year, and these books are amazing. So we're going to actually be talking about their latest book, which is Revolutionizing Online Learning Journey, 1,500 Ways to Increase Engagement. For anyone who's a professor, a lecturer, who designs courses, who teaches online courses, who has a craft or skill, who they want to create courses for the public. This book is a must. It gives you so many of amazing ways for you to see whether it's for you, for your character, for your skill, for the audience you have, for the students that you have, for the topic that you have, and you can pick and choose out of all of these amazing ways how to create your courses and land them amazingly. So I was excited. I learned always so much from them, and I hope that you enjoy the conversation as much as I did. Now, be sure to subscribe to my podcast, my YouTube channel, and connect with me through my website, FoojanZeine.com. Gotta go to the Foojan app. You can get it from Apple or Google. Go through 32 areas of your life and really check it out. We also have an AI companion, Mira, there who can answer your questions. I'm positive you'll enjoy it and you'll learn so much about yourself and skill building and all of it. You could really, really get a lot out of it. People who are using the app are getting about 60%, 65% improvement in each area of your life. So be sure to go get it. Foojan, the app is called Foojan. and that's there for you. Now, connect with me in email me, social media platforms, any of them. Share your thoughts with me. I love to hear from you and know what it is you like, what is it you like me to change, what is it you like me to offer, and all of the above. So without further ado, there's Dr. Aileen Zaballero and Dr. Behnam Bakhshandeh.
Intentional Parenting, a practical guide to awareness integration theory, written by Dr. Jafari, Dr. Foojan Zeine, and Dr. Manoukian, 3 experts in human development, is your step-by-step guide to raising a healthy child prepared for a culturally integrated world. You're supported in parenting infants to adolescents using the latest evidence-based scientific research on parenting. Order your copy on Amazon now.
Eliminate stress, reduce anxiety, and decrease depression. Dr. Foojan Zeine's awareness integration theory has helped thousands like you get incredible life-changing results. The Foojan app gives you her evidence-based treatment in the palm of your hand. Download today.
Well, I am so excited to have 2 of my favorite people who I come every 6 months or every 9 months I have you guys on my show because you're cranking it. Like, you guys are writing books, amazing books, one after each other, and I have to tell you, I absolutely adore this one. So everyone, I want to introduce all of you to Dr. Aileen Zaballero and Dr. Behnam Bakhshandeh, who are the co-authors of this great book, which is Revolutionizing the Online Learning Journey, 1,500 ways, yes, 1,500 ways to increase engagement. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So who wants to start? I started with reading this book. I already have one of your co-authors, Dr. William Rothwell, which he spoke a little bit about how the 4 of you got to here and what, the journey to get all of you to write the book and why it's so important. So I want to request from the 2 of you to kind of, take after what he shared with us. Which is really delving in the book and looking at some of the matters that you've offering every individual out there, whether they're professors at the university or they're learning, offering continuing education, or they just have a task or a craft or something within them that they really want to teach the world. And they're trying to create classes, whether in person, online, or just like on video, and then share it with everybody else. So please share with us.
Well, thank you for your time, Dr. Foojan. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about this project with Dr. Zaballero. And I tell you the funniest story. This book was the kind of generated from Dr. Sadiq when he was a Ph.D. student and interest on online teaching. And then Dr. Rothwell get involved, and then Dr. Zaballero was the last one to get involved with this. And funniest story is, we were almost 75% of the book was done when Dr. Zaballero pulled the rug and come with a total new proposal. And I was like, are you kidding me? Okay, let's start all over again. I'm not kidding. Like she is genius. Start with a whole new approach to online learning, as she can share herself. That
well, I got to start. What's funny that when Dr. Rothwell was starting to collect all the data, because they've been collecting data for several years about this, and when they first collected it, our original, if you remember, Behnam, the original title was 400 Ways to Engage Online Learners. It started at 400.
400 plus ways.
And then as we did the research and we did more, lit reviews and read more articles and talked to more people, it went to 400 to 800 to 1,000. And Behnam pretty much had to say, okay, Aileen, that's enough. Stop. And so I capped it at 1,500. And we're already looking at the 2nd edition, because the hard thing, I was mentioning this earlier, the hard thing is that because there's so much technology and things are changing so fast, You have to stay abreast, and all these new strategies, methods, techniques, tools are constantly evolving and changing. And so we're excited to share this book with everyone, but we're also kind of clear that, there's also a lot more ways out there, and it's not just 1,500 ways. The way we actually had put it together is that we hope this gives you some ways and strategies to engage your learners. But Behnam, why don't you talk about how we structured it, and then we could talk about that story a little bit, and then I could go a little bit more into the learning theories.
Exactly. So I'm a motorcycle rider since I was 19 years old, and I call her my Harley, my therapist. So whenever I need clarity, I go for a ride. And I was sharing this with Dr. Zaballero. I said, let's make this book like you're going for a ride. How you plan the ride? Then I want to go for a ride. I sit down on the map and look at where I want to go, where I want to stop, where I need to put the gas, where I need to take a break. And then, given my experience and history on designing courses, I was present to how much work people don't see. That is before they walk in the course, how much logistics, communication, research, writing, design is in an event, right? I call it the event because it could be webinar, seminar, live, online. And then when you're doing the course itself, all the elements of doing the course, and then it comes after that. Now what? Now that people learn this, what else we offering them? What is the far learning, near learning? What is the support system where they can go to expand what they learn? So basically we decided, okay, we're gonna put it like a ride. I was thinking motorcycle, but Dr. Zaballero made it a car, which I settled for that. It's okay. I love the graphics she did. All the graphics is Dr. Zaballero. I'm amazed. So
let me interject really quick. You can only put one rider if you're going to have a motorcycle. Ideally, we're going to bring like a whole bus full of people, right?
I don't want to call it what they call that, the person in the back. Anyway, side the point. So, and then we divided on before the event, during the event, after the event. If you look at in the book, it's already have 3 major categories. And then we brought the learning theories. We brought a lot of using psychology, ontology, emotional intelligence, how we're going to keep people engaged, where we're going to hook their interest, and how we're going to bring it up to the end. And then we add the element of diversity and inclusion to it, because that is a very hot topic these days on the learning environment. And that actually, as a matter of fact, that was the only book project that we asked for extension. You remember, Dr. Zaballero? We asked for 2 months extension from the publisher because it was so much. I told to Aileen, let's stop 1,100 tops, not more. 2 weeks later, oh my God, there is more. And you cannot deny it because they're all valuable. So that's a story on the background of how we started. And as you see, it's a pretty thick book. I don't know how many pages you become to.
I don't know. I think we're at almost
418 pages.
418 pages.
And it's a kind of a small font, but I personally, myself, learned so much by looking at what other people wrote about, like what Dr. Rothwell chapters wrote, what Dr. Sadiq and Dr. Zaballero, because we are a student of online anyway, even if we do research to write a book. So I'm going to turn it to Dr. Zaballero. As you see, I'm very excited about it. So here we go.
I enjoyed the ride as you were going, is putting it as like, you could look at it as whether you're driving on a highway or an intersection or, like a spaghetti junction, which I get confused. And even as I was reading the book, I'm like, I don't think I could do that one. But I could see where some minds, there are different perspectives that each person comes because of their character plus that not only the modality, but plus the audience that they're teaching to. So some audience might do well, with some theories and some perspective, and another audience might do well with another. As right now, if you have a 20-year-olds, between 20 to 25-year-olds, which you're teaching, obviously your teaching has to, involve electronics and gaming and different concepts versus, I went to, when I took my graduate certificate at Harvard, at the evolutionary psychology course, they were putting the stimulation. Dude, I'm 62. You want to teach me how to figure out how to download all of these pieces and put it together? I was getting pissed. It's like, stop. Just teach me what you need to teach me. Don't send me through, all of these other pieces. But if instead of me, who was 62, there was a 20-year-old sitting there, they're like, stop talking, let me play. So it is so important in who your audience is and who you're teaching it to. And I love it that this book has really embraced all of these different type of methodology for all ages, let's say, and everyone who can be utilizing it. Go ahead, Dr. Zaballero. You wanted to talk about the theories a little bit of whether it was a highway or an intersection or others.
When Behnam and I started to talk about this whole idea as this whole learning journey, so being on a road trip, I really had to kind of deconstruct what these different approaches are. And so, I've learned behaviorism, cognitivism, connectivism, back in my undergrad, but I got to tell you, half of the times it never really connected with me. And when I was writing this, I wanted a visual that really made sense. So let's start with the one that's actually probably the easiest, right? Constructivism. Constructivism, if you think about it, if you're going down on the road and you're going to take, Pacific 101 or Pacific Highway 1, I think is what it was in California, it's a scenic route. And that route is actually determined by the writer, whether or not I stop to look at the scenery, whether or not I pull off to a side road, whether or not I go the speed and decide to just drift through or slow down and take everything in. The whole idea of constructivism is that I'm constructing my learning as I'm going. And it gives me that autonomy. It gives me that ownership of my learning as opposed to it being fed to me. And that was one of the ones I really loved. And I built kind of that idea from the other roads. The connectivism, if you kind of imagine, and I thought of this, and the picture that's in there was actually from Atlanta, Georgia. We call it Spaghetti Highway. And it was all the roads. It was an aerial view. And I just cut everything out except for the dark lines of the road itself. And the whole idea is that to get to route A, you might have to connect to B, to C, to D, exiting left, exiting right. And it was all about how things are connected and the way we connect things. And part of a couple of things of the connectivism, one of the big parts of it is about the social constructs that we have and how we are connected with each other and how we're able to learn from each other, and also how we draw from our own past experiences in regards to being able to make sense of what we're learning at this time. Now, all of this said, sometimes these theories are important or not important, but I think it's important when we start developing it for our learners. Because if you don't consider where they're coming from, you don't have to teach them connectivism or constructivism, but I think we have to be aware of where people are coming from. And so some people are in the whole idea of that constructivist. Some people are coming into this journey of learning because they want to better themselves. They want to learn something new because they just love to learn. I'm one of those people. I bet you Dr. Behnam and Dr. Zeine are both the same way. We just love to learn. But other people are also going in it for a very specific reason. I need to learn this task. I need to pass this test. I need to get that certificate, whatever that is. The whole idea is that we all come to this journey of learning in so many different ways. And so in order for us to be able to do that, we also have to be able to acknowledge that everyone's path, everyone's road, everyone's rate of learning is going to be very different.
Very much. And I remember when I designed some of the courses, I asked the students to teach the other students. So they would create presentations from that topic to be able to teach. And first of all, it was impressive because I was learning so much from them. And I would ask them to bring like videos And they would search and bring amazing videos that I would have never even found from, internet, and bring it and teach it. So it was amazing to do that. But then it was interesting because, you have people who do it very well and people who not necessarily doing it. And then some of the students, it was interesting that although I thought it was a wealth of information, but because students were learning from other students, they weren't taking it that seriously. And on some of this, learning it from other students, we're here because we want to learn it from the professor. So every part of this journey is so much that we learn. So it's like, okay, I got it. So there's definitely some parts that I have to bring in, because some students think of authority as someone who's got to teach them versus, their peers teaching them. So these were very good feedback. And you, in your online learning journey book, you also write about how to consistently learn more and create, the feedback systems that you create to for the teacher and instructor to keep learning from the journey that they're going through. Dr. Bakhshandeh, can you share with us?
Yeah, well, even what you just kind of resisting to learning from other students, but the backbone of the book is what we learned from so many other teachers, learners, professor, even people who give us the data, all the groups that interviewed, all the focus groups that they interviewed. The funny thing is, according to World Economic Forum, learners' participation in online learning retain 25 to 60% more learning material than traditional classroom. This is exactly what you're talking about, right? Which is bring the human psyche to the picture, is a psychology, is the way we give credit or take away credit, right? I had the students in my classes that they know much more information about what I was going to talk, and then give them the autonomy to they actually speak to the classes, brought a lot of more opening for them. So majority of these, I asked Dr. Zaballero to talk about techniques that been designed and been mentioned in every element of these three categories of before, during, and after, because out of the research that we done, all the literature review what we did, we really made it simple. We believe simplicity is grace. For people who be able to do what we are preaching, we made it practices. So, and as you see, for each element, each paragraph or pages, we had a different separate table. We're just making them all one long table. We made it a very short table so people can go copy or write and practice, which is very practical for bringing theory to action and produce result out of it.
Yeah, if I could add something to that too. A lot of times when we come into this, some people are really great at delivering content, being in front of the class, doing a webinar. Other people are really great at, instructional designers and setting up and planning it, while others are fantastic at the evaluation part of it. So the way we structure the book is that depending on where you need more support in, you could actually go directly to that piece. It's not a book that you read from front to back cover. It's really more of a resource book more than anything. And I think we're just clear that everyone has different strengths when it comes to designing and developing, content online, and also that your audience is always going to be very, very different. So depending on whether or not it's strictly all online or whether it's a hybrid and maybe you're doing some synchronous and asynchronous programs, this is a way you use that book, is that you kind of use it like a menu. Let me see what part I need to really work on.
Very much. And I think that a lot more is going to asynchronous, and then with a little bit of human contact. Many of the online courses, whether in universities or even like professional classes that are there, people are just kind of videoing and creating modules who are out there, which they don't have to consistently redo because the module of the learning is similar. But then they bring so many of the different kind of new items in it, or they put in an hour that they could be there for questions and answers and opening the structures and things that the students really want to know. And this the combination of all of these pieces have become so much more important. And then there's so many type of softwares that are coming in, which are amazing, and in bringing different kinds of, they're bringing videos, they're bringing animation. You could stop something and ask question where the participant can actually put in, their 2 cents, or ask, answer a little quiz right there, so you know that they're engaged. So you've shared a lot of these different types where it's not like, okay, you put in the video, you talk, you stop, and you send it out. There's so many variations that are coming to engage someone consistently into the class and the learning that they're doing. Can you guys share a little bit about that?
Yeah, this is exactly what Dr. Zaballero was talking about, that we already start thinking about the second edition, because every new technology that's coming, you have to come with a whole different set of learning process or impact of that platform on the learning process. So it's not easy to keep everybody engaged. And my recommendation to anybody who purchase our book to read is to not try to do it all under one concept. You have to look at what are you trying to learn. If you're a course designer, you can work on the before factor. If you are a presenter, you can work on the during factor. If you are in marketing and sales, you can work on the after events, right? However, as a teacher or instructors in the schools and universities or courses, you have to look at, see where are your shortcomings. Literally being authentic about what is it that you must learn more, or have a more depth in what you know, and then going through the book and selecting the chapters or segments that you need to expand your knowledge. Because if you want to take it all on, you're going to burn on a stick. Too many, 1,500 at the same time. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to look at what I need to learn.
Yeah, the other thing too is that I think both delivering and designing it really requires intentionality, right? And we're focusing, our focus for this book was to be engaging. How do we engage the learners? Because one of the things that we know is that taking courses online can be pretty lonely. Without that face-to-face interaction. I mean, if I was taking a class with Dr. Zeine, but I only see her on a video, it's not the same with actually being able to engage with her directly. And so what are the ways you can actually create this engagement? Because the hard thing about it is that if they're not engaged, that people drop off, and the retention can be low, and the attrition is going to be high because people are not really getting what you're trying to deliver. And so with that, we tried to use this whole idea of a ride. And I think when you think, I would say this, when you're reading this book, think about it, you're going to go on a road trip, right? So if you go on a road trip, one of the best things to do is first plan it out. I am going to take the van because I have all my nieces and my nephews are going to come with me. And I know that I'm going to check the car and I'm going to check the vehicle to make sure that I have everything that we need. Look at it the same way as you are delivering your course and your content. What do you need to do so that everyone in that van is having the best time, even whether or not you're in the van with them? And I think that's one of the ways we tried to use the analogy for one, but really also create and make sure that every piece of this is intentional, and it's not just something that I put a video on and they're going to watch it. Well, what do they do with the video? How do they engage with the video? What's the purpose of the video? How does it align back to the learning objectives? Because if you don't have that and you just put the video, then the video just becomes just that, space online.
One of the things that I need to mention here is we didn't put any ways of this 1,500 to just fill numbers. Every item's been suggested, been reviewed, been discussed. And there is so many of these items are linking readers and students to other resources, third-party resources, websites, other books, because we are not committed to just what we know everything. We know everything was done by everyone. That's why there's a lot of content from other contributors are inside this book and has been cited and referenced with integrity.
Everyone, Revolutionizing the Online Learning Journey, 1,500 Ways to Increase Engagement. So when we're talking about increasing engagement, obviously there's a different ways of getting engagement if your online learning is in person, right? So that's weird to say online in person, but you know what I mean? It's synchronous. So that's like together, all three of us are here, we're engaging, we're having a conversation together, but obviously the will be watching the video or listening to our audio, they don't have the same concept, right? Of having the conversation that we're having, but also even, whether they were here, could they possibly be a part of the conversation, or would they still be just listeners and not necessarily having to participate? So it's the level of engagement, it changes when they have the ability to participate somehow, whether they're with us at this moment or they're watching the video. For example, in one of the courses, like I remember it was like a well-being course at Harvard, we had both. We had people who were actually sitting in the classroom. At the same time, it was all of us from across the world who were online at the same time. And then they were videoing this, and they had it as asynchronous, where they also started creating different type of engagement for people to really have the ability to share and be a part of it. And then obviously the instructors and the TAs would later on go and look at all those discussions and give feedback. So there's so many ways of putting this engagement within the same type of courses. Can you guys share a little bit about, your ideas that you put in the book and how to bring that alive?
Yeah, I remember that was a section of the book that we mentioned online learning is not necessary alone learning, because we mentioned learners group. If it is a school or friends or family or in organizations and businesses as a department or as some corner of three desks together, learning groups is the very empowering way of online learning, because involve group discussion and group inquiry and come in with some answers or some support for people who get bored, get tired, or lose interest. That is very big on group learners.
Yeah, the other thing too, that you have to almost put yourself in the learner's shoes. What is their experience going to be like when they take the course? If it's hard to manage, if it's hard to find content, if it's hard to, figure out where to go next, and it's not a logical flow, it frustrates people. I got to tell you, there's been so many times in which I've been in a course and I couldn't find certain course content, and you have to search and look for it. It gets frustrating and it takes a lot of time. So that part is really a critical piece in making sure that you think about that. The other part that we're also thinking too is that you got to remember your audience now is not just people in the neighborhood or around you. These are people who are maybe across the world in a different time zone, or they might be in an area that doesn't have the best internet connectivity. So things like if your video that you're putting up is going to take a long time because they don't have the broadband to be able to upload that video, that's going to disengage your learners like that. So being aware of those things and making sure that they are able to go through, are clear as to the path of where they need to go, is essential for engagement.
It's not a one cookie cutter. It's not a one take for everyone, everywhere, in every nationality or culture or geographic location. That's why they don't have to count on all the 1,500 ways apply to them.
The other thing I'd say to that is that, talking to a person or a student directly doesn't mean they're engaged or not engaged. And also in regards to instructor presence, just because, somebody shows up to one of my office meetings or virtual office hours doesn't mean that I'm engaged or not. Instructor presence can look like so many different ways. And one of the best things, especially when you're having them do assignments, is giving some really true personalized intentional feedback. I spend a lot of my time giving feedback because I don't spend a lot of time with the students themselves. So I really want to make sure that I'm able to connect what they just wrote, and I'm clear and I'm sharing with them that I really took the time to read what they wrote, and I'm really trying to process it, and I have more questions. And so I always add additional follow-up questions for them to continue to think about.
Very well. I tell you a story about what you just said, Dr. Zaballero. At the time that I was teaching, I come to the scoring the students, right? So usually I did the scoring grading 2 days in advance. I grade them, let's say C minus, C plus, or B minus. However, I wrote the note. This extra 2 days I gave you to read my notes and feedbacks, as you said, right? And repost in the next 48 hours. That engaged them to go and learn specific about that topic or that domain, and then repost the grade, and they got much higher grade. I find that very engaging. So I played a game with them. I don't fail you. You deserve C. Now, hear the feedback, go follow it, repost within 48 hours, and I regrade you. Works very well. I get a very high, what they call it, evaluation. Dr. Donahue called me. He said, "What did you do? Walk on the water?" I said, "No, I put myself in the shoe. As a student, I would appreciate if Rothwell was giving me 2 extra days to come with an answer."
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yes. And it shows that, one of the ways of learning theories that you guys put in at the beginning was the behaviorism, right? And there's a lot of this kind of a, stick and punishment. And as you were sharing, if it's not just the direct, you go here, and if you miss, the line, you miss the exit, too bad, you're stuck for another 3, miles on the freeway. It's this concept of, I know that you're here. I know that you want to learn. So it's coming from this intention of, I know you want to learn. So I'm giving you constantly the opportunity to learn and to get excited about it. And then obviously when you get excited and you do the work, then you'll see the result, not only see the result from a great perspective, but see the result because you feel good about yourself, knowing that you came back, you shifted it, and you learned more and more about it. So
absolutely.
Really.
Yeah, building on what you're saying, the whole idea with the behaviorism, we broke it down into 3 main segments, right? So that's positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, and then punishment. And every single thing that you put as an instructor, whether, if you're late to your submission, you get, 10 points off for the first day. I mean, those are punishment. And the question is, how supportive is it, and how much is it helping? And then the feedback that you're giving, of course, these verbal praises, or whether it's nonverbal cues when you're engaging with people online virtually, or if you're also engaging with them in regards to using emojis or sending them messages of how well they're doing. All of those kinds of reinforcements is going to impact how they continue to engage throughout the semester. If they think of you as being somebody, and this is just my perspective, because I'm not a very good person in regards to punishment. I really want you to accept and understand the consequences in regards to the outcome that you have. But I think more than anything, I think that it's really important that we give them a space to understand why things are happening.
Very much, yes. I remember I put out a group project, and as they work together, and they're supposed to, as a team, create something. And immediately I was getting feedback that some students were not engaging fully, but they were, part of the group, so they were getting credit. And some of the students who were doing so much did not like that the other people were getting credit. And like you just said, like when people understand, and I wrote in an announcement that if you are, this is your kind of platform, this is a place where you could engage and learn how to do teamwork and observe yourself in how you're doing teamwork, because there's no way you're going to be successful in any kind of work environment after you get out of school if you don't know how to engage in a team work and projects together, because everything you do out there is based on some sort of group work together and bringing alliances together, and you got to put your own work in there. So it's this part of, like you just said, having an explanation that yes, a person has so many things to do, and they will come in and they're like, oh, can I just put my minimum here and get the benefit of everybody else's? You can get away once, you can get away twice, but in a real life, you can't really succeed if that's what your mentality puts you through and go. So it's like, these are all learning potentials in how to utilize these spaces as a laboratory, in a sense, to learn about yourself and shift the way you are. Yes.
Right. So I'm teaching right now. It's funny you're saying that. I'm teaching right now this semester, facilitating groups and teams. And so these groups, they're in their groups for a while. And, I had told them, I said, I know that people have lives. We have so many things going on. I'm taking care of my mother. Things happen. I understand that. And I asked them, and I told the team that they should have grace for each other, but they should also hold each other accountable. And what I've done is that every week I told them, you have the option. Either A, everyone gets the same grade as the entire team. That's what we have it structured. But you also have the alternative option where the team has to decide that it might be a weighted grade based on the contribution of the team. And I ask them every week so that people know that, if I don't hold my weight, I might be on a weighted grade. And I told them by week 10 of the semester, they have to make that decision and let me know. So I gave it back to them, though, and let them make the choice as a group and as a team, whether or not they want to do that. So each person, even if you're not engaging, you can take your own accountability for what you're doing or not doing.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I think what I also shared with them is that among your group, make a decision in how you're going to, because each one of them has to take a role. And if you guys are satisfied, and put the name of that person in the group, on the paper or not on the project, so that each one of them can make a decision. And I think, but the group also changes, so they're not stuck with one group that holds resentment. They can keep changing.
Yeah.
But it's all of these pieces that we keep learning. So many different, with trial and error of how to, go through this. And everyone who's with us, I promise you, it makes life much easier when you have 1,500 ways to do trial and error with, and you don't have to just kind of like fake it from, out of whatever shows up at that moment for trial and error, but you have 1,500 ways at your disposal with this book, Revolutionizing the Online Learning Journey, to be able to pick and choose what works for you, what works for your audience, what is going to, work for your character, what you're teaching, the topic you're teaching, the style you're teaching, and the audience that you're teaching, and constantly change and see what works for you and the students that are there. Yes.
Yeah, I would add to that. There's so many tools out there. Try it out. As an instructor, I think a lot of times instructors tend to stay in the lane that they feel comfortable in. And unfortunately, we're in a world that lane is going to dead end really quick and fast. You have to be able to change lanes. You have to be able to try new things, new ways to engage. I was using Mementine, which is one of those tools that you can use so that they could actually use their phone. And it took me a while to figure it out. And honestly, I used it about a year ago. I haven't used it in a while. I had to relearn how to use it again. But there's so many tools, and that's what's exciting, but it can also be very daunting. And that's what's, I think, nice about this book, because it gives you some of those pieces. We don't vet all the software and the tools, but we do give you some ideas that you can actually look into.
Beautiful. Last minute, anything we haven't shared about that you want people to know?
So I'll say this. One of the things that we really wanted to do differently about this book is that we wanted it to be not such a static book, right? So books tend to be very static. You buy the book, you read it, that's it. We wanted to be able to engage with the learner, the reader, the user of the book. And so we created a website. So in the book, I think it's in the first few pages, it has the website. And we've dedicated a web page to that. And what we're doing is we're putting all these different tools. But one of the things we're also doing is that we want to hear from all of you. If there's a tool or a strategy that's out there that we didn't consider that you want to share, we would love to hear a little bit more about it. And what we're doing is that we have that sheet in there where you could fill it out, and then we'll vet it. And if we use it in our book, we'll, of course, ask for permission that we do that, and then you would also get credit for it.
What is the website?
It's under Rothwell Associates, so rothwellassociates.com. And then under resources, if you click on the resources, it'll be a list of the books. It's still under construction. We should have it up by probably the first week of October.
Beautiful. Dr. Bakhshandeh, any?
The last thing is there is no one solid answer to everything. As Americans say, there is more than one way to skin a cat. We did our best. That's an American thing. Don't look at me. We try our best to relate to the learner, to the people who use in the book, and in a simple way, attractive way to get people to learn more about what we find on our research. So as Dr. Zaballero said, we did our best, but if you feel something is missing, please contact us. We definitely use your contribution. And Dr. Foojan, thank you very much for your time that give us to share our work with you.
Absolutely. How can people find you?
Have you seen any last name longer than me? You can find Behnam Bakhshandeh easy. And Dr. Zaballero just on the website, on the Amazon, simply books by Dr. Zaballero, or books by Dr. Bakhshandeh or Rothwell, or simply type 1,500 ways and it's going to pop out.
Beautiful. Or just keep looking at my podcast. I think probably I have
your podcast.
Every quarter I have you with a new book. You guys are such hard workers. I'm really, my hats off to the two of you and your team, Dr. Rothwell and everybody in the team.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
so much
for taking the time to be with us.
I appreciate it.
And for all
Thank you.
For all of you who are out there, create an amazing life for yourself and everyone around you. And until next week, bye-bye.
Are you a psychotherapist looking to enhance your practice? The Awareness Integration Therapy developed by Dr. Foojan Zeine is a comprehensive guide to the principle and techniques of this powerful therapeutic approach. Join the growing community who have elevated their practice and expanded their skills by embracing awareness integration therapy and witnessing its life-changing impact. Order your copy on Amazon now.